Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at understanding the dynamics of the value chain,
Okay.
which came out, I think, in 2013,
Right.
but still has some really relevant stuff in there.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going deep into a specific chapter about how businesses can really create a value chain that sets them apart
Right.
and really helps them drive profits.
Absolutely.
So, we always like to think about, those companies like Dell that just dominated their market.
Right.
And you kind of wonder, how do they do it? Is there some sort of formula
Yeah.
that turns operational efficiency into just money?
Yeah. And it's interesting how the book frames competition as really a battle between value chains, not just companies. So it's not just about your product. It's about optimizing every single step in delivering that value to you, the customer.
I see.
And that's where the real advantage lies.
Okay, so the chapter starts out by outlining 4 key dimensions of competitiveness, which are cost, quality, response time, and flexibility.
Yeah.
And they kind of break it down to make it easy to understand. They say, okay, imagine like a race car.
Okay.
That represents speed, a handcrafted watch that represents quality, a chameleon, which represents flexibility,
Right.
and then like a budget airline, which is all about cost.
Yeah.
So, each one of those things kind of excels in a certain area.
Exactly. And the book actually uses Dell as a prime example of this.
Okay.
So in their early days, they really nailed all 4 of these dimensions. So they let you customize your computer.
Okay.
You can pick the processor, the RAM, the hard drive, everything.
Right.
And that speaks to both flexibility and quality.
Yeah.
They delivered those custom computers really fast,
Okay.
hitting that response time dimension. And they did it all at a price that was super competitive.
So they kind of really did give you the best of all worlds.
Exactly, yeah. They really hit that sweet spot.
But how did they do that? I mean, how do you actually achieve that?
Well, the book talks about this thing called the value equation.
Okay.
It's actually very simple, VPC.
Okay.
Basically, it says that value, that V, comes from either increasing performance, which is the P, or lowering costs, which is the C.
Okay.
And that's it. It's that simple.
That's interesting.
And, think about it from your perspective as a customer.
Yeah.
You're happy if you get more for your money, right? Or if you pay less for the same thing.
Yeah.
So companies can win by focusing on either side of that equation, or ideally both.
Yeah.
And they give this really cool example of a circuit board company that really understood this.
Okay.
They targeted this niche market, high-quality prototypes.
Okay.
So engineers needed these small batches of circuit boards delivered super quickly, and they were willing to pay a premium for that speed and quality. And by zeroing in on those very specific needs, the company saw a significant jump in profits.
Interesting. So it was almost like they weren't even competing with anybody because they had that specific.
Exactly. They found their niche, and they dominated it.
Wow, that's really cool. So I guess what's fascinating about this is it highlights the need to really understand your target market.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to tailor your value chain to what they want and what they prioritize.
And what they'll pay for.
Yeah.
There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
So if you were starting a business, which dimension would you prioritize?
Oh, that's a tough one. It really depends, right?
This does, doesn't it?
On your market, your product, your overall strategy.
That is tough, yeah.
Yeah, there's no easy answer.
Well, so after they talk about those 4 dimensions, they kind of move into the mechanics of designing a value chain for speed.
Right.
And they use this analogy of like a factory assembly line.
Right.
To get that product out quickly, everything has to flow smoothly and efficiently.
And they present 2 different scenarios.
Okay.
In the first scenario, you have all these silos where each department operates completely in isolation.
Yeah.
And they're basically just tossing their work over the wall to the next team.
Right, like a relay race where they're dropping the baton.
Yeah, exactly. And it's chaotic. Things get delayed, communications break down.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is, yeah. It's funny because it's almost like that game of telephone.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Where the message, or in this case, the product, gets completely distorted by the time it reaches the end.
Yeah, exactly.
But then they present this second scenario.
Okay.
And this is where you have cross-functional teams working together right from the start.
Okay.
They're constantly communicating, getting feedback early and often.
Right.
It's like a well-oiled machine working at peak efficiency.
That's the ideal for sure.
Yeah. So this really emphasizes the importance of breaking down those silos. Absolutely. You've got to foster collaboration and have everyone looking at the entire value chain.
Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Exactly, working towards a common goal.
Yeah. I mean, think about a time you were working on a project and it just went totally off the rails because people weren't communicating properly.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
That's the silo problem in action.
Huh.
But then speed isn't everything.
Right.
What about cost?
Ah, yes, the eternal struggle.
Yeah.
Well, the book actually challenges this idea that cost leadership just means being cheap.
Okay.
Sometimes spending more upfront on quality can actually save you money in the long run. They talk about the danger of focusing procurement teams solely on saving money because it can lead to short-sighted decisions.
Right, because you might end up with something that doesn't last very long.
Exactly. It's like buying cheap shoes that fall apart after a month
Yeah.
versus spending more on a pair that lasts for years.
All right.
In the end, which option is truly cheaper?
Right, exactly.
And this brings up an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever bought something where quality was more important than price?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And was it the right call in the long run?
I think so, yeah. I'd rather have something that lasts.
Right. And that's the kind of decision businesses face all the time.
Yeah, and they have to weigh all those factors.
Exactly.
So we've talked about speed, quality, cost, but how do these operational things actually translate into dollars and cents?
That's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about in the end.
Well, that's where the book brings up EVA, or economic value added.
Okay.
It's a way to measure the real value a company creates, going beyond just profit.
Okay.
And they explain that EVA has three main levers:
Okay.
revenue, costs, and assets.
So it's not just about making money, it's about using your resources as efficiently as possible.
Exactly, to create the most value.
To create the most value, yeah, for shareholders, I guess, ultimately. Okay, interesting. And then how does that tie into everything else we've been talking about?
Well, that's where they connect EVA to something called the SCORE model.
SCORE model.
The SCORE stands for Supply Chain Operations Reference Model.
Okay.
It's a framework that helps companies track and optimize their supply chains specifically to boost EVA.
So SCORE is like a set of tools to help companies fight inefficiency.
Yeah, and maximize value.
Okay, but how does it actually work in practice?
Well, the book gives some very specific examples of how metrics from the SCORE model directly link to financial performance.
Okay.
They start with revenue,
Okay.
and they use this metric called perfect order fulfillment as an example,
Well, like order fulfillment, okay.
which basically means getting the right product to the right customer at the right time in perfect condition.
That makes sense. So happy customers mean more sales, which means more revenue.
Exactly. It's a domino effect.
Okay, I like that.
Then they dig into costs,
Okay.
focusing on something called supply management costs. And by streamlining processes, like purchase order processing, companies can find substantial savings.
So it's not about squeezing suppliers on price. It's about making the whole process more efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then finally, they look at assets,
Okay.
using this metric called cash-to-cash cycle time,
Okay.
which basically measures how long it takes a company to convert cash invested in inventory back into cash from sales.
I see. So the faster they can turn over their inventory,
The more cash they have.
the more cash they have, yeah,
Yeah.
to reinvest or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. It's like a financial treadmill.
You got to keep things moving.
You got to keep things moving, yeah.
I like that analogy.
And the book actually uses a great analogy here, too.
All right.
They say, imagine your company's cash flow as a water pipe.
Okay.
The cigar model helps you identify and remove the clogs that are slowing down the flow.
I love that. So SCAR is all about optimizing the flow
Yeah.
of materials, information, and ultimately cash
Exactly.
through the value chain. Precisely.
Okay, I'm starting to get the big picture here.
Good, good.
So what else is there?
Well, that leads us to another important metric:
Okay.
return on invested capital, or ROIC.
Okay.
It's another way to measure how well a business is using its resources to generate profit.
So ROIC is like a report card for management.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
It shows how well they're using investors' money.
Right, to actually generate returns.
Exactly.
Okay. And what do they say about that?
Well, the book points out that even small improvements in cost control and asset management can have a dramatic impact on ROIC. They even share an example from the DuPont model,
Okay.
where a 5% reduction in material costs and inventory led to a whopping 30% increase in ROIC.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It really shows that sweating the small stuff, paying attention to the details can make a huge difference.
It's a reminder that small, targeted actions can have big financial ripples.
That's amazing. It really highlights the power of fine-tuning those operations. But before we get too carried away,
I think we should take a step back. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here.
we have the 4 dimensions of competitiveness to this core model.
Right, to EVA. I mean, it's
a lot to digest.
It is. So I think it's time to connect all the dots.
I agree. It's easy to get lost in the details.
Yeah. So what are the key takeaways here? Why should all of this matter to you, the listener?
Right. What's the big picture when it comes to value chains? I think the bottom line is this: a well-designed and well-managed value chain is like a powerful engine that can really drive both profitability and a competitive edge.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that every single step from sourcing those raw materials to delivering that final product shapes the value that you perceive as a customer and ultimately impacts a company's bottom line.
Yeah, it's like a well-rehearsed orchestra.
Yes.
Where every instrument has to be in tune and playing together to create something beautiful.
Exactly. And in this case, the conductor is the company leadership.
Right.
Setting the vision, making sure everyone is on the same page, but it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, right?
No, absolutely not. It's an ongoing process, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the business world is constantly changing.
Right.
You've got customer needs evolving, new technologies emerging, competitors adapting.
It's a constant game of catch-up.
So to stay ahead of the curve, companies need to constantly assess and adjust their value chains.
Right. And just like in chess, there are proven principles and best practices that can guide your decisions.
Okay.
And that's where frameworks like the skull model and concepts like EVA come in.
Okay, so they provide a way to think about the problem, give you tools for analysis, and a common language for teams to communicate.
Exactly. It's all about having a shared understanding.
Okay. So what's interesting is that these frameworks, you can really apply them across industries.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Whether you're manufacturing cars, selling software, even running a restaurant.
Right.
The core principles of value chain management stay the same.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how value flows, finding those bottlenecks, finding those inefficiencies.
The pain points.
And always looking for ways to improve.
Always iterating,
So the book also stresses that it's not just about internal operations.
Right.
It's also about managing relationships with those external partners.
Yes, absolutely.
Like suppliers, distributors.
And the whole ecosystem.
It's about creating that strong network of partners who share your vision and are committed to delivering value to the customer.
It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost think of it like a relay race.
Okay, yeah.
Each runner has to smoothly hand off the baton to the next one to maintain that momentum. Any fumble or delay
Costs you the race.
And in business, that race is for market share, profitability, and ultimately survival. It's a jungle out there.
Now, the book was written before the real explosion of technology.
Right.
But it's clear that technology plays a crucial role in value chain management today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're in the age of digital transformation now.
Yeah, exactly.
Where data analytics, automation, cloud computing are completely changing how businesses operate.
And they can be revolutionary.
Oh, yeah.
For optimizing the value chain.
For sure. Imagine having real-time visibility into every single stage of your operations.
Oh, wow.
From buying those raw materials to getting that final product into a customer's hands.
You could identify bottlenecks like that?
Instantly, yeah.
Optimize inventory levels? Automate those repetitive tasks?
Right.
Use data to make decisions?
It's like having a super-powered control panel for your whole business.
But even with the most amazing technology, it still comes back to people.
Yeah, always does.
You need skilled, motivated employees who understand why value chain management matters.
Yeah, they have to be bought in. And are dedicated to constantly improving things.
It's a culture thing.
It is, yeah. It comes down to leadership. Building a culture of collaboration, innovation.
Putting the customer first.
Empowering employees to find and fix those problems. And recognizing them for their contributions.
It's about having a team of all-stars who are passionate about winning.
Yeah.
True value chain champions.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us back to that core message of the book. Right. That a well-designed and managed value chain isn't just an operational strategy.
Right.
It's a fundamental driver of success in business.
It's the foundation.
It's a way to create a lasting competitive advantage, offer exceptional value to your customers,
Yeah.
and ultimately achieve real financial success.
It all comes together.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
All right, let's hear it.
I love a good challenge. Hit me.
If you could change just one thing about your company's value chain to really boost performance, what would it be?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the big picture.
Yeah.
You know, where are those biggest opportunities hiding?
Exactly. And it's about taking all this stuff we've talked about today and applying it to your own situation.
Right.
What are your company's strengths,
Yeah.
weaknesses?
What a challenge.
What opportunities are unique to your industry?
How can you leverage these principles to tackle those challenges, seize those opportunities? It gets you excited thinking about it.
Yeah, there's no magic bullet. It's about tailoring your approach
Right?
to fit your specific circumstances.
So being adaptable,
Yeah.
innovative.
Pushing for excellence.
Yeah.
And never forgetting the power of collaboration,
Right.
both within your own organization and with your partners.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, a successful value chain is a team effort.
It is bringing together the best people and resources to create something truly exceptional.
That's what makes business so fascinating.
It does.
This constant challenge, this never-ending pursuit of improvement.
Always striving to be better.
So keep exploring these ideas.
Yeah.
Take what we discussed today.
And go make those value chains sing.
Yeah, go out there, and if you find any game-changing breakthroughs, let us know. We're always eager to learn from, fellow knowledge seekers.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Keep diving deep